Hello everybody. Welcome to part 1 of how to play UFS. We are going to go over the different card types in UFS and what each card type does. Also, we will go over the different areas of play. There are 5 basic card types in UFS. There are characters, attacks, foundations, assets, and actions. Each card type has different roles and abilities in the world of UFS. Let's start off with characters. Each player controls one character card. The player will have his character attack, block, and perform other actions during the fight. Character cards have a distinct look that sets them apart from other types of cards. Let's take a look at what's on the character card. So, of course, we have the name of the card, pretty self-explanatory. Character names are at the top of the card, where other cards, the names are on the left-hand side. Let's go over hand size and maximum vitality. These are exclusive to character cards. Hand size is how many cards a player draws up to during their draw step. This number determines how many cards you start each of your turns with. Vitality is how much life a character begins the game with. This is how much damage a character can sustain before being knocked out. The goal of UFS is to reduce your opponent's vitality to 0 by playing attacks, just like a fighting game. A character may never have more vitality than their maximum vitality. So for example, if I'm playing Mega Man and I'm at 27 vitality, and I play a card that lets me gain 2 vitality, I would be at 28 vitality. I cannot go above the printed maximum vitality. Character cards also have vital statistics on the right-hand side, such as their height and their weight. Some cards and abilities may reference a character's vital statistics. Next up, we have attack cards. Attacks have an orange frame and represent punches, kicks, throws, and other moves a character uses to defeat their opponent. Every attack will have speed and damage values along with an attack zone. The speed is the top number, while the damage value is the bottom number. Speed is how fast the attack is. The faster the attack, the harder it is to block. The damage value is how much damage the attack deals to the opposing character. The attack zone right next to the speed will show if it is a high, mid, or low attack. So, playing attack cards is how you win the game. Foundations have a gray frame and represent a character's training and abilities that will help them prepare for the fight. Foundations stay on the board for players to use their abilities. These cards are very important because not only do they give you more abilities to work with, but they help you play more cards on your future turns. Assets have a green frame and represent equipment, objects, and locations that can influence the fight. Assets stay on the board and have abilities, just like foundations, but they cannot help you play other cards. Action cards have a blue frame and represent maneuvers and tactics a player uses to either help their character or disrupt the opponent's character. Action cards are usually one-time use cards. So let's take a look at what is on the cards. In the top left-hand corner, we have the difficulty of the card. Every card has a difficulty. This number represents how hard the card is to play. The higher the number, the more difficult it is to play. In the bottom right-hand corner, we have the control value of the card. Every card has a control value, just like how every card has a difficulty. This number is used to pass the cards that you play, and we will get more into that in part 2. In the top right-hand corner, we have the block symbol. Blocking is very important to survival, just like in fighting games. There are 3 possible block symbols: high, mid, and low. A card of any type may have a block symbol on it, and any card with such a symbol is considered a block card. There are some cards which do not have a block symbol. These cards are not considered block cards and cannot be used to block attacks. The symbols near the middle of the card are called resource symbols. These govern the cards that the character can play. There are 12 total resource symbols, and most cards have 3 total. Characters can only play cards that share at least one resource symbol with them. So Mega Man can play Super Mega Buster because this card shares at least one resource symbol with Mega Man. But Mega Man cannot play Robot Masters because Robot Masters does not share any resource symbols with Mega Man. It gets more complicated than that, and I'll explain resource symbol mechanics in a later video, but for the most part, when building a deck, you pick one of the resource symbols on your character and make sure that every card in your deck has that resource symbol. That is usually the way to go. Below the resource symbols, we have the text box. Here is where you will find the different abilities and effects that cards have. There are 3 types of abilities: Form, Enhance, and Response, shortened by F, E, and R. All 3 of them are played at different points in the game, and we will get into that eventually. Now we are going to go over the play area. During a game, the playing surface is divided into several different areas where cards are placed. First up, we have the deck. This is the player's deck of cards, randomized by shuffling and placed face down at the beginning of the game. A deck must have 60 cards minimum, including the starting character, and no more than 4 copies of any one card. Next, we have the discard pile. Anytime a card is discarded or destroyed, it goes to the discard pile. Anytime a card is placed in the discard pile, it is placed on top of the pile. Players are free to look at the contents of the discard pile, but the order may not be rearranged. There are some cards that refer to the top card of the discard pile, so it is very important to maintain proper order. Next, we have the staging area. This is where your starting character is, as well as any foundations or assets that you have played. This is where most of your abilities will be, as you can use any abilities on cards in your staging area. Next, we have the card pool. Any cards a player plays during the current turn are placed into the card pool. Each time you play a card into the card pool, it is placed in front of the card that you previously played. Your card pool gets cleared at the end of your turn. Any foundations or assets that you have played on your turn will move to your staging area. All other cards played will go to the discard pile. Attacks that dealt damage have the option of going to a player's momentum instead of the discard pile. So let's just say that we played these attacks. This attack dealt damage, but this one did not. So we can place this one face down underneath of our character as momentum, and the other attack will get discarded because it did not deal damage. So now let's talk about momentum. At the end of your turn, when you clear your card pool, attacks that dealt damage may go face down underneath of your character. And this is called momentum, and it represents getting the upper hand in a fight. Some really powerful effects need momentum as a cost to use them. To put it in fighting game perspective, momentum is kind of like the special meter. Next, we have the removed from game pile. Any cards that are removed from game go in this pile. Cards that are removed from the game stay removed from the game. They cannot go back to the deck or discard pile unless there is a specific effect that states so. So some players may put the removed from game pile as another discard pile, or other players may put their removed from game pile underneath of their mat, just to signify that they are removed from game. But the removed from game pile is public knowledge, so both players have the option of examining any removed from game pile. Next, we have your hand. Your hand is where you hold cards that have not been played yet. While a player's hand is not on the playing surface, it is still an area of play and can be affected by cards and abilities. Another thing to note in this video is card states. Cards have 2 states in this game: ready and committed. When a card is straightened, it is considered ready. Any card that is ready may have any of its abilities played. Some abilities require a player to commit a card for a part of a cost or to fulfill an effect. To commit a card, you turn it 90 degrees so it is aligned sideways. Abilities on committed cards may not be used unless they say otherwise. This concludes the different card types and areas of play in UFS. In the next video, we will go over the turn order and how cards are played. Thank you for watching part 1 of how to play UFS, and I'll see you in part 2 where we will go over the gameplay of UFS.